Have you ever wondered why some people can remain still in the middle of a storm, while others are shaken by just a gentle breeze? It's not because they were born stronger than you. They simply learned one secret. Mastering your reaction is mastering your life. And today, you're going to learn that too. If there were a skill that made it impossible for others to manipulate your emotions, that rendered every insult meaningless, would you want to have it? It's not magic. It's the art of acting as if nothing can shake you. And it begins with one very small decision. Have you ever wondered why there are people who seem completely unshakable no matter what life throws at them? They don't falter easily, and they don't allow anything to disturb their inner peace. Meanwhile, many others become angry over just a careless word or a minor gesture. So, what creates that difference? If I told you that this resilience is not something you're born with, but rather a skill you can learn and even master with enough discipline, what would you think? Being unbreakable is not a gift of birth. It is the result of intentional self-mastery and deep understanding. Look around you. The most powerful people in the world are not the loudest, nor the ones who react the quickest. On the contrary, they are the ones who can remain calm in the most chaotic situations. They don't rush into arguments, they don't scramble to defend themselves when misunderstood, and they certainly don't sacrifice their inner peace just to protect their ego. They are not immune to emotion. They feel sadness, anger, frustration, just like anyone else. But what sets them apart is the simple truth they've internalized. Every reaction is a transfer of power. The moment you get angry, feel offended, or lose your temper, you've handed control of your emotions to someone else. You allow circumstances and random events from the outside world to dictate your internal state. And from that moment on, you are no longer the master of your own life. Instead of directing your emotions, you become directed by them. It's like being a puppet pulled by the strings of your environment. This is why mastering your reaction is one of the most profound and underrated sources of strength you can possess. Now think of someone you've met who you quietly admired for their calm demeanor. Maybe it was a leader, a teacher, or someone you deeply respected. What do they all have in common? The ability to stand still in the middle of chaos. They don't have to shout to be heard. They don't have to explain themselves to be understood. And they certainly don't have to prove anything in the face of criticism, because they understand one core principle. Protecting their peace is their top priority. They've trained themselves in a remarkably effective psychological trick acting, as if they are unaffected, even when inside they may feel otherwise. That might sound contradictory, but it's incredibly powerful. Why? Because the mind follows the body. When you act as if you're okay, your brain starts to believe that you actually are. When you maintain an outward sense of calm, your inner emotions begin to align with that state. At first, you may be pretending, but over time, that act becomes instinct. It's no longer a performance. It becomes your reality. And that's exactly why pretending not to be affected is considered a psychological superpower. Psychologists refer to this phenomenon as cognitive dissonance. When behavior and emotion are not aligned, the brain will actively try to synchronize them. For instance, if you behave confidently even when you're scared, your brain will eventually adapt and help you become genuinely confident. Conversely, if you constantly react negatively, you're training your mind to grow weaker over time. The more you engage in meaningless arguments, the more you surrender your power. Every time you let a comment make you angry, you're telling your brain that this person has authority over your emotional state. And that is a dangerous belief to build. So starting today, you need to make a decision, a clear and firm decision. Will you let the world decide your emotions, or will you take back control? What would happen if you stopped reacting? Imagine walking into a room and someone deliberately throws an insult your way. Instead of responding as usual, you remain silent. You don't justify, you don't defend, you don't get angry. You simply smile gently and continue walking. What do you think would happen next? At first, they might try harder to provoke you. They'll test every possible way to make you lose your composure. But then something interesting happens. They begin to lose interest. They realize they no longer have control over you. They get bored because the button they used to press no longer works. And that's exactly how human psychology works. We only keep pressing buttons that still respond. Once you stop reacting, you reclaim control. You become powerful. Because the truly strong person is not the one who wins the argument, but the one who doesn't even need to enter it. That is the first step toward building unshakable confidence. A commitment to live by one mindset, that nothing outside of me can control me. I decide what affects me. I choose where my energy goes. And every time you feel like reacting, pause. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself one simple but powerful question. Is this worth losing my peace over? 9 times out of 10, your answer will be no. You are not your anger. You are not your sadness or your pain. You are the one observing all of these emotions. Most people believe emotions control them. They think they can't help but feel angry, hurt, or frustrated. But in reality, emotions don't have power over you. Your reaction to them is what determines everything. The moment you truly understand this, you reach a level of freedom that very few ever experience. No longer a victim of your feelings, you begin to live as a calm observer. And peace slowly becomes the natural state of your mind. Think back to a recent moment when you felt hurt or upset. Maybe someone said something that struck a nerve. Maybe a situation didn't go your way. Now ask yourself, was it the event itself that hurt you, or was it your reaction to it that caused the turmoil? Your mind is a powerful machine, constantly interpreting situations to generate emotions. If you believe that a negative comment is an attack on your worth, it will hurt. But if you view it as meaningless noise, it loses all power. The strongest people are not those without emotions, but those who refuse to let emotions dictate their actions. They recognize that emotions are temporary, but actions have lasting consequences. So they don't react immediately. They pause, they observe, they choose how to respond. And in that brief space between feeling and reaction, they take back control. That space is where true power is built. It is the foundation of inner stability and emotional freedom. From this moment on, you can begin to live that way too. Every time a strong emotion arises, resist the urge to react. Pause, observe. Remember that you are the master, not your emotions. And from here, a new journey begins. A journey of calmness, of inner command, of acting as if nothing can shake you, even when you are still learning how to stand firm on the inside. Together, we've uncovered a simple yet powerful principle. You can choose to protect your peace instead of letting the world control your emotions. And now, it's time to dive deeper into how that kind of control truly works. Imagine someone insults you. If you believe those words truly strike at your self-worth, then feeling hurt is almost inevitable. But if you see them as nothing more than meaningless noise, then they carry no weight. They pass by like the wind brushing against a cliff, leaving no trace behind. A truly strong person is not someone without emotions, but someone who refuses to let emotions dictate their actions. They understand that emotions, no matter how intense, are temporary. But every decision made under the influence of emotions can carry long-lasting consequences. So they don't rush to react. They pause. They observe. And they choose how to respond slowly, calmly, deliberately. It is in that small space between an emotion and action where control is reclaimed. That is emotional mastery. And once you start living this way, everything around you begins to change. The pressures that once overwhelmed you now feel like gentle waves. Other people's opinions no longer trap your mind. Unexpected situations can no longer shake you off your inner balance. Because at that point, you are no longer a slave to your emotions. You are the one in control. From now on, whenever an emotion arises, don't try to suppress or deny it, and don't act on it immediately either. Simply acknowledge its presence. Then ask yourself a simple question. Is this really worth my energy? The moment you begin to respond consciously instead of reacting instinctively is the moment you step into a completely new level where inner peace becomes an unbreakable strength. Your mind truly believes what you repeatedly tell it. Every thought, every reaction, every emotional pattern you allow to repeat becomes the default. If you often get angry over small things, your mind will learn that anger is the appropriate response. If you constantly let stress take over, your brain will adapt to see stress as normal. But here's the good news. The mind can be reprogrammed. You can rebuild it and redirect it toward calm and resilience. True strength doesn't come from being emotionless, but from training the mind to stay steady no matter what happens. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself based on repeated experience. This means you can absolutely train yourself to become stronger, calmer, and more untouchable. And it is right here that the foundation of inner power is built. Imagine two people facing the same unexpected crisis. One collapses, overwhelmed by negative thoughts. The other remains calm, assesses the situation, and handles it with clarity. What creates the difference? It's how they've trained their minds beforehand. One allowed emotions to take over and made it a default reaction. The other practiced calmness long enough for it to become instinct. Which of the two do you think is truly strong? Your mind is always listening to you. Every time you choose calm over reaction, you are telling your brain that you are in charge. Every time you act as if you are unaffected, even when there's a ripple inside, you are training yourself to become stronger. And over time, what used to be effort becomes second nature. Pretending to be fine becomes actually being fine. This is exactly how resilience is built. Not overnight, not through force, but through steady daily practice. So remember this. Every time you feel shaken, ask yourself what you are planting in your mind. Plant calmness, plant control. Plant the belief that you are not easily defeated. Because once your mind gets used to that belief, the world around you will no longer have the power to shake you. The key is this: your mind follows action more than emotion. This is why one of the simplest yet most effective psychological tricks is to act as if you are unaffected, even when your emotions are in turmoil on the inside. Most people think they need to feel confident before they act confidently. They wait until they feel peaceful before they choose silence. But that is not how the brain works. In reality, action comes first. Emotions follow. Think back to the last time you forced yourself to smile even though you didn't feel happy. At first it was forced, but then you noticed your mood beginning to shift, didn't you? That's because your brain takes cues from your physical actions. Smiling, even when reluctant, still sends a positive signal to your brain, and your emotions gradually align with that behavior. The same principle applies to emotional control. If you behave as though you are unaffected, your brain will start to believe it. Negative emotions will have fewer chances to invade you, and eventually what began as an act will become your reality. A new, natural state, steady, unmoved, undisturbed. Inner freedom does not come from denying your emotions, but from mastering how you live with them. Strength does not lie in instant reactions, but in your ability to control yourself in silence. And this is not pretending. It is a way to train the mind, a deliberate practice in mastering the self. When someone insults you, instead of reacting instinctively as we often do, try pausing. Don't respond. Don't dive into a battle you were never meant to fight. Let their words pass through you like wind gliding over water. Your lack of reaction sends not only a powerful message to them, but also an important signal to yourself that you are in control. You are not being dragged into the mud of negativity. Life will always test you. Unexpected things will happen. People will continue to provoke. Situations will arise that make you want to explode. But instead of reacting the old way, keep your back straight, slow your breathing, and handle it with calm. Even if a storm is rising inside you, don't let that storm destroy the bridge of your inner peace. Act as if you are standing in the middle of a hurricane, while your mind remains a still, quiet lake. At first, this may feel unnatural, awkward, like you're trying to be someone you're not. But keep going, because over time, what you once pretended becomes second nature. Calm is no longer a mask, it becomes a reflex. Control is no longer a struggle, it becomes your natural way of being. One day you'll wake up and realize that the things that used to make you angry no longer affect you. You're not pretending to be calm, you truly are calm. Because by acting as if you were unaffected, you reprogrammed yourself to actually become unaffected. When you reach that state, you'll understand something powerful. No person, no circumstance, not even fleeting emotions can shake you. You become as solid as a mountain against the storms of life. The truth is, the world is full of people who will deliberately try to challenge you. Some will criticize you harshly. Some will throw out sarcastic remarks on purpose. Some people seem to exist just to see you lose control. They want you to react. They want to drag you down to their level. And most people don't realize this simple fact. The moment you react, you've already lost. When someone can make you angry, make you stressed, or hurt you emotionally, they have power over you. The more impulsively you react, the more you hand over control of your emotions to them, and that's exactly what they want. They want to see you affected so they can feel that they can manipulate you. This is how emotional control works. It's not about who's right or wrong, it's about who stays calm. Have you ever met someone who enjoys pushing people's buttons? They say provocative things for no real reason, just to get a reaction, just to see you get upset. Why? Because every time you get angry, they feel important. Your reaction validates their words. It tells them that what they said matters, that they matter. But when you don't react, everything starts to change. They begin to lose interest. They get confused. Some even feel frustrated. Because what they wanted, control, no longer works on you. And in that exact moment, your true power is revealed. No words needed, no arguments, no need to prove anything. Just standing firm in your calmness, that silence becomes the most powerful answer of all. From now on, every time someone intentionally attacks you, remind yourself of this. Their words mean nothing unless you assign meaning to them. You don't have to respond to everything. You don't need to engage in games you don't want to win. Ignoring is not weakness. It is strength. The kind of strength that refuses to waste energy on what is not worthy. Once you master this, everything changes. You no longer go through life reacting, but choosing. Every step you take becomes intentional. Every word you speak has purpose. You walk with control, with confidence, and with a presence that commands respect. People begin to realize that you are not easily provoked or manipulated. And eventually they stop trying. Because the truth is, not everything deserves your attention. Not every comment needs a reply. Not every situation is worth your energy. A wise person is someone who saves their energy for what truly matters. The truth is, most people live their entire lives in reaction mode. They absorb negativity like a sponge, get drawn into endless arguments, and let minor things dictate their mood for the whole day. But you don't have to live that way. There's a very simple truth that, once understood, will set you free. What you ignore loses its power over you. Negativity is like fire. It only keeps burning if you keep feeding it. Every time you argue with a toxic person, you throw more wood into the flame. Every time you replay hurtful words in your mind, you're helping them take deeper root. And every time you get angry over something small, you're burning yourself from the inside out. But when you pull your energy back, the fire begins to fade. That is the power of detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you are mature enough to know what deserves your care. You refuse to let the chaos outside control the peace inside. You choose peace. Have you ever lost sleep over a careless comment? How many times have you replayed a negative conversation in your mind, only to feel more frustrated with each replay? And then, you're exhausted. Not because of something serious, but simply because you kept fueling something that wasn't worth it. Ask yourself this, was it really worth it? Did reacting strongly change anything? Or did it just cost you time, energy, and your precious peace? And if the answer is no, then maybe it's time to step into a new level of emotional mastery. When you begin to practice calmness as a way of life, you'll gradually start to feel the real power within you. From this moment forward, make a decision. Protect your emotional energy at all costs. When negativity approaches, don't rush to react. Step back, observe it like you're watching a scene in a play, and then choose to let it go. Not because you're weak or avoiding reality, but because you understand that your inner peace is worth more than any external battle. The strongest person is not the one who wins every argument. It's the one wise enough to not enter unnecessary battles at all. They don't waste energy on things that offer no value. They stay focused, calm, and above all, unshakable no matter what storms may come. And then, you'll come to a surprising realization. Your silence is the loudest thing you can express. In a world where everyone is trying to outshout each other, silence becomes the most powerful counterattack. It is the ultimate expression of control. And indifference, when used wisely, can become one of the most formidable powers you possess. The biggest difference between someone who is weak and someone who is grounded lies in one simple thing: the ability to pause before reacting. While most people live on autopilot, strong individuals create space between emotion and action. When insulted, people usually retaliate. When they feel disrespected, their instinct is to argue and reclaim their worth. But those who have mastered themselves respond differently. They're not driven by fleeting emotions. They know that the first reaction is often the weakest one, and they choose not to act on that weakness. They create a pause, a moment of silence. And it is in that unseen pause that true strength is formed. Next time something bothers you, try this. Don't react right away. Take a deep breath. Feel the emotion rising, but don't let it overflow. Just stand still, as if watching a wave crash against the shore, and then let it pass. In that exact moment, you reclaim control. You are no longer a prisoner of your reflexes. You are the one choosing how to act. This is what clearly separates the easily manipulated from the deeply respected. The one who knows how to pause always keeps others guessing. They are not easy to provoke. They are not easy to control. And because of that, they hold an invisible kind of power that no one can quite grasp. Picture someone being insulted, but not reacting. They don't get angry, they don't lash out, and they don't even try to explain themselves. They simply look at the other person calmly, maybe even with a slight smile. In that moment, who is truly stronger? So the next time someone tries to offend you, pause. The next time words sting your heart, pause. And the next time life tests you with a difficult moment, pause again. Because in that very silence, you are making a decision that most people never do, to keep control. Indifference, to many, may seem like coldness, but in reality, it is an incredibly powerful tool. Not because you don't care, but because you've learned to choose what is truly worth your care. It is the deliberate choice of which emotions are allowed to enter your mind and which are not. Try to recall someone you've witnessed being insulted yet remaining calm. No arguments, no display of hurt, no need to prove anything. It wasn't that they had no feelings. They simply chose not to let their emotions control them. That is the true model of healthy indifference. Indifference does not mean apathy or emotional disconnection from the world. It is the wisdom of protecting your inner peace. It's how you declare to the world, I will not be easily pulled into your chaos. I choose to preserve my peace. The more you nurture this sense of indifference, the more grounded you become. The less you get dragged into petty matters, the more energy you preserve for what truly matters. What affects you most deeply is not necessarily because it's important, but because you've unconsciously given it too much power. It's time to break that connection. Each time you get pulled into chaos, remind yourself, I am indifferent to what does not serve me. This doesn't make you cold. It makes you self-governed, because you no longer allow the outer world to dictate your inner state. You decide how you feel. No one else has that authority. When this kind of indifference becomes your nature, you'll walk through life with a rare kind of calm. No more panic. No more getting dragged into what doesn't matter. You become unshakable. But remember, this doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't just appear on a sunny morning. It is built through small, repeated choices every single day. The human mind is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. Just like physical exercise, training your mind to reach a state of unbothered calm takes time and persistence. Start with the simplest moments. When you choose not to react to provocation. When you stay silent instead of arguing. When you smile instead of getting angry. Each of those moments is a mental workout, teaching your brain to remain steady in the face of adversity. At first, it won't feel natural. Emotions will push you to react the old way. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes. And soon, when life throws an unexpected challenge your way, you will no longer respond instinctively. You'll pause, breathe, and handle it with calm and intention. That's the moment you'll know you have changed. We've explored the power of emotional control and how not to let outside forces govern your mind. Now, let's go even deeper into an equally important part of the process. Persistence. Each time you let a minor irritation pass without reacting, you quietly train yourself with a layer of mental armor. A strong shield not to protect you from the world, but to keep you anchored in yourself no matter the situation. Every time you choose silence over lashing back at criticism, you are planting a seed of resilience in your mind. Day by day, your brain begins to adapt to it, forming a new habit. What once felt difficult, what once made you want to explode, will gradually become normal. But the key is consistency. Just like working out your body, you can't expect results in a few days. You must train your mind with the same perseverance as you would train a muscle. And though this journey may not always be easy, trust might is always worth it. Imagine you're training for a marathon. The first steps are always heavy. Your body feels exhausted. Your mind wants to give up. But if you keep going day after day, your body will adapt and your spirit will grow stronger. Until one day, you look back and realize that the things which used to trouble you are no longer a problem. You move through challenges with ease, no longer swept up in unnecessary chaos. And you don't have to start with big things. Start with the smallest ones. When someone cuts in front of you on the street, when someone makes a tactless comment, let it pass. Don't give those annoyances the power to steal your peace. Practice staying calm, especially in situations where you used to react the most. Bit by bit, you will see the difference. You won't be easily shaken anymore. You won't be disturbed. You won't be bothered by things that are not worth it. Gradually, this doesn't remain just a temporary behavior, but becomes your way of life. A way of living based on inner peace and steadiness. One of the most important elements in maintaining emotional stability is self-respect. When you truly respect yourself, you know you deserve peace. You no longer feel the need to prove anything to anyone. You no longer feel the urge to react to defend yourself. Because you know your peace doesn't need justification, self-respect is the foundation of inner strength. When you realize that your time, energy, and well-being are precious, you won't easily let others violate them. When you value yourself, you won't give anyone the power to control your emotions. Think about it. Every time you remain calm and composed, you're not just preserving your inner peace, but also honoring your self-worth. On the contrary, if you react to every little thing, it's a sign that you haven't truly appreciated your emotional peace. You're still allowing the outside world to easily influence your inner state. But when your self-respect is well nurtured, you begin to set clear boundaries. You don't need to say it out loud, but your actions will say, I value my peace too much to let anyone disturb it. This doesn't mean you become distant or rigid. It simply means you hold the reins. You know exactly who has the right to influence you, and to what extent. You don't allow baseless criticism or negative behavior to erode your confidence in yourself. The more you respect yourself, the more you'll realize that not everything deserves your emotional reaction. You begin to invest your energy in things that truly matter. And when you can protect that energy, you become so much stronger. Because self-respect is not just a thought, it is a way of life. When you practice it daily, you will realize that no criticism, no challenge can throw you off course. Within you lies a place of peace that cannot be touched. However, there is a silent enemy that most of us overlook. It is expectation. Expectation is one of the biggest roots of emotional turmoil. We expect everything to go according to plan. We expect others to understand and behave the way we hope. We expect that if we try hard enough, life will have to turn out as we wish. But then reality fails to meet those expectations. And when expectations fall apart, we feel frustrated, disappointed, even bitter. So the secret to emotional freedom is letting go of expectations. It doesn't mean giving up on your dreams or stopping yourself from setting goals. It means not tying your peace to a specific outcome. When you let go of expectations, you also let go of the power that life tends to hold over you to bring disappointment. You no longer place your happiness in the hands of others. You stop demanding that everything must be perfect for you to be happy. Instead, you open your heart to receive whatever comes, just as it is. You stop fighting reality, and you learn how to live in harmony with it. Expectations always belong to the future, a place you cannot fully control. They are assumptions based on what has not yet happened. And when you live based on what hasn't happened, you are building a house on sand. When the wind blows, you waver. In contrast, when you live in the present moment, when you stop insisting that life must go your way, you begin to enter a state of true freedom, no longer shaken by the gap between what should have happened and what is happening. You begin to receive life with gentleness. You stop blaming. You stop being angry. You accept. And in that act of letting go, a new space is created. A space for peace, for deep understanding, and for a kind of quiet yet unwavering strength. So ask yourself this: are your expectations making you suffer? Are you pushing yourself into a corner just because you believe things must go the way you want? If so, then maybe it's time to learn how to let go. Not to give up, but to rediscover true peace. And when you start living with the awareness that you have the power to choose your response, something beautiful happens. You accept reality as it is. You no longer expect life to go exactly your way. You no longer strain to force everything into alignment with your expectations. Instead, you understand that everything in this life comes with highs and lows. People may disappoint you, plans may fall apart, things may not go as hoped, and that's normal. But instead of letting those things break you, you choose to remain calm. You accept, and you refuse to let any circumstance steal your inner peace. The fewer expectations you carry, the more room you have for stillness and freedom. When you are no longer attached to what should have happened, you begin to embrace what is truly happening. A simple shift in mindset can completely change the way you experience life. Letting go of what you think life is supposed to be and accepting what is like taking off a heavy backpack. You feel lighter, more at ease. And then you realize you never needed to carry that much weight in the first place. Walking through life with lightness is not avoidance. It is a conscious choice. You choose not to fight what you cannot control. You choose to save your strength for the things that truly matter. That shift in thinking frees you from disappointment, from anger, from the feeling that life is unfair. And it opens up a new path. One where you no longer live in blame, but in peace. Start today. Gently release your expectations. Let life unfold in its own way. Trust that in the unpredictability, you will discover the most beautiful things. Because when you stop expecting life to treat you fairly, you also stop giving anything the power to hurt you. An important part of mastering your emotions is learning to set emotional boundaries. Boundaries are not just physical spaces, they are invisible lines that protect your mind and heart from unwanted intrusion. It is how you tell the world, this is the space I allow you to enter. Beyond this, please stop. When you lack boundaries, you are like an open field. Anyone can walk in, anyone can trample through. You become vulnerable. A careless comment can ruin your entire day. Someone else's negative attitude can drain your energy long after they're gone. Even worse, you let their emotions determine your mental state. On the other hand, someone who knows how to set boundaries is someone who takes charge of their emotional space. They can clearly define what to absorb and what to block. They do not allow anyone to disrupt their inner peace. They do not let someone else's chaos spill over into their own mind. That does not mean you become cold or avoidant. That is not the point. Setting boundaries is not about building walls. It is about building a gate. You can open it, but you can also close it when necessary. You still love, you still empathize. But you do not allow negativity to sink too deeply into your inner self. You might have experienced this before. Someone lashes out, behaves rudely, or tries to pull you into a toxic conversation. Without boundaries, it is easy to get pulled into that storm. You react, you argue, and in the end, it is you who feels exhausted. But if you have boundaries, you know when to pause, when to step back. You do not let their words throw you off balance. You do not let their bad energy take over your mind. Imagine a waterproof raincoat. The rain still falls, but you do not get wet. A person with strong boundaries is just like that. They do not let someone else's negative emotions seep into their soul. They understand that everyone is fighting their own battles, and not every battle requires their involvement. When you master this art, you become steady. You are no longer easily shaken. You no longer let anyone control how you feel. You begin to live from a firm foundation, where peace is no longer something that can be stolen so easily. So today, start creating your own boundaries. Listen to your emotions when someone or something leaves you drained. Learn to recognize the signs of emotional depletion, and practice saying no calmly, firmly, and without guilt. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It is an act of self-respect. Because only when you are at peace can you offer something good to the world. In addition to setting boundaries, there is one more foundational element in mastering your emotions: self-control. Imagine this. Without it, you're like a small leaf caught in a powerful wind. Wherever the wind blows, you drift along. You're pulled by every emotion that arises, swayed by external stimuli that appear moment by moment. But when you possess self-control, you're no longer a leaf. You are the storm. Steady, focused, and purposeful. You know what has the power to shake you, and you know how to stay grounded. The truth is, we often don't get angry because of what others do. We get angry because we allow ourselves to be affected. It's not the situation that upsets you, but your inability to manage your reaction. And that can be changed. Self-control is the ability to pause before reacting. It's the moment you take a step back to ask yourself, is this worth sacrificing my peace for? And when you practice that pause enough times, it becomes a habit. Like a muscle, self-control needs to be trained. Each time you manage your reaction, you strengthen it. Each time you choose calm over rage, you add another layer of resilience to your inner world. And once self-control becomes second nature, you begin to walk through life as a truly free person. No longer a prisoner of fleeting emotions. No longer having to apologize for impulsive behaviors. No longer living with regret over letting emotions overpower your logic. You become the master. And in that mastery, you find a power that no one can take away from you. Then, when you've learned to control your reactions, set your boundaries, and take command of your inner state, a deeper level begins to unfold before you. A space where silence is no longer just a response, but a way of life. Mastering your emotions is not about waiting for a day when you feel nothing. It's about learning how to respond wisely before your emotions take the reins. Now imagine this. You're confronted with harsh criticism, yet instead of reacting with anger or defensiveness, you remain composed. You don't shout, you don't argue, you don't need anyone to step in for you. You just stand firm, like a mountain, and let the words pass by like a breeze. Picture another moment. You're caught in a tense situation. Everything around you feels chaotic. Someone loses their temper, or an unexpected event hits you hard. But instead of being overtaken by impulsive emotions, you stay calm, alert, and capable of handling the situation with clarity. That is the true strength of self-control. The ability to rule your emotions rather than let them drag you through turbulent waters. When you practice self-control, you're no longer a victim of anger, emotional weakness, or fleeting reactions. You stop operating on autopilot and start responding from a place of clarity and intention. You understand that emotions like anger, frustration, or resentment are merely passing clouds. They don't define who you are, and you don't need to obey what they command. Instead, you choose responses that align with the best version of yourself, a version not swayed by ego, but guided by wisdom and peace. Every action you take shapes the story of your life, a story where you hold the pen, not your temporary emotions. Here's a crucial truth. You cannot control everything that happens in your life. You can't control what others say or do, or how the world shifts around you. But you can always control how you respond. That's the realm where you have complete power. And the moment you start living from that place, you stop being a victim of your feelings. You reclaim authorship. You choose outcomes instead of being dragged into consequences. This doesn't mean you must suppress your emotions. No one is asking you to become a cold machine. What you need to realize is that emotions are just visitors. They come, they go. As long as you don't let them drive your actions, you remain the one on stage, in command. So next time life throws something at you, be it a harsh remark, an unforeseen setback, or a difficult person, pause. Do not react immediately. Remember, you are the one who decides how you will respond. And in that very moment, you're choosing freedom. The more you practice self-control, the more unshakable you become. Someone who shows up with calm presence and inner strength, even when storms rage around you. Now let's take a closer look at another aspect. What makes you so easily controlled by your emotions? One of the deepest reasons is unhealed wounds. There are negative emotions and old scars still lingering inside you, and every time someone unintentionally or intentionally touches them, you react. You get angry, you feel pain, you feel out of control. But the truth is this, holding on to those wounds only makes you weaker. It keeps you stuck in the past, trapped in old injuries, unable to fully step into the present. It prevents you from growing, from becoming the stronger version of yourself. Letting go is the key that unlocks emotional freedom. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending you were never hurt. It means choosing not to let that emotion control you anymore. You stop allowing the past to write your present story. You stop giving those who hurt you the power to disrupt your peace, even if they're long gone. And then, something miraculous happens. When you let go, you are free, as light as a leaf lifted by the wind. You stop carrying the heavy emotional baggage. You no longer react the way you used to. You become calmer, clearer, and more at peace. Of course, letting go isn't easy. It requires trust. Trust that you are no longer the person in that old story. Trust that the past is ended and holds no power over the present. Trust that your peace is more valuable than anything that no longer serves you. Imagine walking through life with a light soul, not burdened by the past, not carrying hatred, not clinging to what's unnecessary. You face challenges as if you were gliding across water never dragged under. That is the power of letting go, the power to release, to renew, and to transform you from within. So right now, if there is an emotion still clinging to you, release it. If there is a memory still eating away at you, let it drift away. Let go of anger. Let go of resentment. Let go of the expectation that the past could have been different. And when you do, you will feel something deeply profound. The peace and strength you once searched for outside have always been within you. They've just been waiting for you to make room for them. In a world full of noise, drama, and constant conflict, there is a quiet power that few recognize: silence. Not the silence of weakness or avoidance, but intentional silence. A response that requires no explanation, no defense, no engagement. A response born from self-mastery and deep self-respect. Think about the last time you were pulled into a meaningless argument. If you chose silence, you did something few people are capable of. You stripped others of their power. You refused to let them control your emotions. You stepped away from the game without leaving a trace. Silence is not a lack of response. It is a response at a higher level, a form of elevated emotional intelligence. When you remain silent, you create space for reflection. You give yourself time to assess the situation, to process your emotions, and to decide your next move with wisdom. While most people react impulsively, you are different. You observe, you choose. You don't let anger dictate your words. And often what you don't say speaks the loudest, because it shows that you are in control. You're not pulled into chaos. You are not affected by the noise. You choose peace over conflict. You choose inner strength over emotional outbursts. And next time someone provokes you, when you are standing in a situation that makes you want to explode, remember this: silence is your shield. Let it protect you. Because in those quiet moments you hold the greatest power, the ability to stay calm, grounded, and unshaken no matter what is happening.